Part 1. The Old Buccaneer. Treasure Island is narrated by Jim Hawkins, the son of the owners of the inn, the Admiral Benbow. In the first pages, Billy Bones, a mysterious and ragged old seaman, appears at the doorstep of the inn, dragging a large sea chest. Bones decides to stay at the inn and asks Hawkins to warn him if he ever sees a one-legged man. One day, while visiting Hawkins' father, whose health has deteriorated, Dr. Livesay, local doctor and magistrate, inadvertently disregards Bones' demand for silence in the end. Despite Bones' physical threats, Bones dies by the end of this section. Hawkins discovers the map of buried treasure in Bones' sea chest and shares it with Livesay, and the two men, along with Squire Trelawney, begin their search for the buried treasure. Part 2. The Sea Cook. Hawkins meets Livesay and Trelawney in Bristol, where a ship, the Hispaniola, has been purchased. Here, Hawkins meets Long John Silver, a seaman with just one leg. Although Hawkins remembers Billy Bones' warning, Hawkins finds himself unconcerned about Silver, who puts on a show of gentlemanly manners, poise, and confidence. Silver is hired as the sea cook for the Hispaniola, and once the voyage gets underway, the majority of the pirate sea hands look to Silver as their leader. There is little trouble on the ship as it makes its way towards Treasure Island. However, one night, while Hawkins climbs into a huge apple barrel to retrieve a fruit, he happens to overhear Silver talking to some of the men. It is upon this conversation that the story takes a major turn. Before this point, Silver has been painted as a reliable, intelligent, and fair-minded man. But after overhearing Silver, Hawkins has a new perception of this man, who is proving to be dishonest, cunning, and possibly murderous. Hawkins discovers that Silver is planning a mutiny. Hawkins tells Dr. Livesay, Squire Trelawney, and Captain Smollett about Silver's plans. The group makes counter-plans as the ship heads towards the island. Part 3. My Shore Adventure. A depressive mood descends upon the crew once the ship is anchored in the harbor of Treasure Island. In order to ease this mood, the captain tells the crew that they can go ashore. The captain hopes this will keep them preoccupied so they do not mutiny prematurely, catching the captain and his cohorts off guard. Hawkins, aware that he is unneeded on board and overly excited about exploring the island, slips off the ship and heads toward land in a small dinghy without waiting for his companions. The first sign of trouble is the sound of a gun being shot. Upon hearing it, Hawkins, who hides in the bushes, sees Silver kill one of his own men. Having witnessed the murder, Hawkins starts running. In his desperate need to put distance between himself and Silver, Hawkins runs into Ben Gunn, a sailor who has been marooned on the island for 3 years. He was left there by Captain Flint, the pirate who hid the treasure on the island to begin with. Gunn had been a mate on Flint's ship, along with Billy Bones and Long John Silver. Gunn tells Hawkins about his experiences and about the treasure and a hidden boat that Gunn has made. He tries to tell Hawkins more, but a volley of cannonballs is hurled at the island, and both men run for their lives. Part 4. The Stockade. In the beginning of this section, the narration is taken over by Dr. Livesay. Livesay relates the events that were happening on his part of the island while young Hawkins was experiencing his own. As Livesay and the trusted members of the crew are about to leave the Hispaniola, Livesay learns that Hawkins has already left the ship. He fears for Hawkins' safety. Upon arriving on the island, Livesay finds an old stockade, a 6-foot-high structure made of logs. Inside, he discovers a fresh water spring. The doctor concludes that this is a good place to make the stand against the pirates. The doctor and his men return to the Hispaniola and tell the captain the new plan. Then the men load supplies, food, medicine, and guns and ammunition into several small boats and set their course for the island. Once they land on the shore, they carry their crates to the stockade. After several trips, Dr. Livesay returns to the Hispaniola and announces that they have completed their plan, and all but a handful of men leave the ship. The small boats they are using for the last trip are overloaded, and the tide is working against them. In their hurry to prepare for a confrontation with the pirates, they have failed to realize it until it's too late. That the only men left on board are Silver's men. When they look back to the Hispaniola, the captain suggests that they kill Silver's men. Trelawney takes aim, misses his intended target, but wounds another. At this moment, the little boat in which Captain Smollett's men are rowing suddenly sinks. Since they are in only 3 feet of water, no one drowns, but some of the guns and half of the supplies are lost. They have little time to reclaim anything as the pirates on the Hispaniola begin shooting cannonballs. The captain's crew barely makes it to the stockade before gunshots are fired and the battle on the ground begins. As the first battle comes to an end, Hawkins returns to the scene. Hawkins takes over the narration and tells the men about Ben Gunn. They discuss their plans. This section ends with Long John Silver making a surprise visit to the stockade with a white flag in hand. Silver suggests that the captain turn over the treasure map. Then he suggests that the treasure be divided between the two sides. The captain scoffs at the suggestion and tells Silver to have his men come to the stockade and surrender. Silver spits into the freshwater spring in disgust. He leaves, and shortly afterward, the next battle begins. In the process, several are killed and the captain is wounded. Part 5. My Sea Adventure. Once again, Hawkins decides to leave his group without telling anyone. He grabs some food and a gun and heads east towards the shoreline. He finds Ben Gunn's boat, rows it out to the Hispaniola, and frees the anchor, thus setting it adrift. He hears drunken noises from the pirates and climbs aboard to investigate. He finds the men quarreling and quickly returns to his small boat. He is tired, so he lies down and falls asleep. When he awakens, he sees that the waves have increased in size, and when he sits up, his boat almost capsizes. In order to stay afloat, he must lie low at the bottom of the boat. He then notices the Hispaniola about 1/2 mile away from him and makes up his mind to board it again. The only man conscious aboard the Hispaniola is Israel Hands. Hawkins acts boldly, taking down the pirates' flag and telling Hands to call him captain. Hands is wounded, so Hawkins brings him food and drink in exchange for Hands helping Hawkins navigate the ship to a safe harbor. Once the boat is all but safe, Hands lunges for Hawkins, but is thrown overboard by a sudden twist of the ship. However, before falling off the ship, Hands thrusts his knife into Hawkins' shoulder, thus nailing him to the mast. Hawkins is at first mortified, but then he realizes that it is just a superficial wound and frees himself. He then leaves the ship and runs to find the doctor and the captain. He runs to the stockade, but is startled to find Long John Silver and his men there. Part 6. Captain Silver. Silver stands up for Hawkins, although some of his men want to kill him. Hawkins admits everything to Silver, telling him that he was the one who overheard their plan to rebel against the captain. Silver tells Hawkins that the doctor gave the treasure map to him, and he has deserted Hawkins. Of course, Hawkins is confused. Silver's men then turn against Silver because they no longer trust him. Coincidentally, the Doctor shows up to administer to the wounded pirates. He talks in private to Hawkins and reprimands him for running away. The Doctor urges Hawkins to run away with him now, but Hawkins has given his word to Silver and tells the Doctor he must remain a prisoner to the pirates. Before the Doctor leaves, Hawkins tells him about rescuing the Hispaniola. The pirates head out to look for the buried treasure. When they finally figure out the map and follow its directions, they come upon an empty pit. Someone has already dug up the treasure. The pirates believe they have been tricked and decide to kill Silver, but the Doctor and Ben Gunn, who have been hiding in the bushes, shoot at the pirates. After the pirates run for their lives, the Doctor, Hawkins, Silver, and the others retreat to Ben Gunn's storage cave, where the treasure has been hidden. It appears that Silver has been working with the captain, but Hawkins has seen both sides of Silver and suspects that the old pirate chooses any side from which he will benefit. A few days later, the Hispaniola is set to leave. Silver is in custody, but the captain has guaranteed him a fair trial. They leave food for the 3 remaining mutineers and sail for the nearest city to get fresh supplies and a new crew. When they anchor in a Spanish-American city, Silver escapes, and most of the men are relieved. Only 5 men of the original crew make it back to Bristol, where they share the treasure.